Hello and welcome to this Astranti video. My name's James and today I'm going to be running you through our industry analysis document for the OCS case study exam. Today we are of course going to be focusing on King Crystal from the Presene, and more generally we'll be looking at the crystal industry. This video is aiming to provide you with a number of hints, a summary essentially of some of the key points we believe will be relevant for your exam. It is still important, we do like to stress that you should read our industry analysis document in full to get more detail on the topic. From the Presene, we know that your role for this exam is that of a finance officer in the finance department of King Crystal. Your primary responsibility is for preparing managing accounting information. However, due to the size of the business, you're often asked to perform tasks in other areas of the business. So perhaps the best place to start would be to look at the crystal industry in a little bit more detail in terms of its history. So the main point of difference between lead glass or crystal and standard glass is that the calcium content of standard glass is replaced by lead oxide. And as you can see on the screen, this typically has a weight of between 18 and 40%. And the result of this addition of lead into the glass mix is a high quality, clearer product. Although lead oxide samples have been found in glass dating back to roughly 1400 BC in Mesopotamia, it was actually English businessman George Ravenscroft in the 17th century who's often credited with the first industrial scale production of lead crystalware. England and Ireland began to thrive as centres of glass development within Europe, while the 19th century saw the development of many other traditional famous brands from today, such as Baccarat in France and Swarovski crystal in Austria. Such is the longevity of these brands that they remain some of the big names within the modern day crystal industry today. Just from looking at the history of the crystal industry, we can see that it's a relatively small and highly specialised industry which is limited by the technical knowledge and skills required to enter it, i.e. new entrants find it very difficult to start in the business. This idea is not only backed up by the longevity of many of the leading companies within the industry, but also more closely relating to our Presene, the fact that King Crystal is one of only 4 major crystal businesses within Gigland. The company's requirements for highly skilled workers and handcrafted products makes it evident that the production requirements and the skill set of workers are a major entrance barrier to new companies looking to enter this industry. And so we're now going to move on and look at the first key area that is going to be important for you to consider for your exam, and that is products. One of the major points to note about the different products produced in the crystal industry is that they're not just limited to traditional crystalware, drinkware and homeware. Just from the list of the major products of key competitors on the screen at the moment, you can see that things like jewellery, lighting, decoration and fashion all feature prominently alongside these more traditional products of drinkware and homeware. And what this represents is one of the product trends I want to talk to you about, which is product diversification. A useful way to evidence this trend is to compare 2 of the leading companies within the crystal industry. The first one of these is Swarovski Crystal, which is an Austrian company. Swarovski initially focused on producing jewellery, and it remains famous for its range of crystal jewellery. The company and its product base has, however, diversified significantly. Swarovski Optic, for instance, was founded in 1949 and is now one of the premier manufacturers around the globe of precision optical products. This company alone, a side company of the wider Swarovski crystal business, has a revenue of 140 million euros. Within the Swarovski crystal business itself, one of the key developments within the company's ranges has been the company's crystal creation figurines. These started with the original mouse, which you can see on the screen at the moment, and this was created in 1976. And from this original figurine, the collectibles range has developed enormously into a whole different range of themes and products. As a result of the development of this range of figurines, Swarovski now has a really successful giftware segment to its crystal business, as well as its initial focus on crystal fashion and jewellery. That is, of course, on top of the success of other arms of its business, such as Swarovski Optic. Swarovski's success can be compared with that of Waterford Crystal, which is one of the most iconic and long-lasting companies within the industry. However, it was forced into receivership in 2009. And in part, this was due to the fact that it had a much narrower base than its Austrian competitors. Whereas Swarovski had several different ranges of products available to it, Waterford Crystal was more focused around the tabletop crystal ranges and also its homeware. In the economic crisis which hit Ireland post-2008, the company suffered as a result, with consumers looking for a more cost-effective and more practical product in times of economic hardship. Waterford's narrow product range meant that when its customers began to lose interest or found alternatives to its crystalware, it was forced into receivership. The comparison between Swarovski and Waterford is useful for comparisons also with King Crystal. As a similar Northern Hemisphere nation to Ireland, it wouldn't be unreasonable to suggest that the trends we've seen with Waterford Crystal could also be applicable to Gigland. We know from the Daily News that the trends of high consumer spending on luxury houseware are currently ongoing in Gigland. However, it's important to note also that this is on the back of a decline in the crystal industry within Gigland in the period beforehand. The fact that the industry has suffered in Gigland before, and the fact that similar companies such as Waterford, which has both a greater reputation and a greater range of products than King Crystal, emphasises the need for the company to diversify, and also highlights the potential difficulties it might face if the economic situation were to change and it had failed to diversify. The other interesting point to note from the Presene is that the Daily News article highlights the revivals of arts and crafts in general in Gigland. This doesn't focus specifically on crystalware, which is what King Crystal is known for. And this increased competition highlights the fact that there are potential opportunities for diversification away from a singular focus on glassware which King Crystal currently presents. So there are opportunities and potentially a market for a more diverse range of products within Gigland. The next area I want to talk to you about leads on nicely from that of products, and it is with regards to the changing demands and trends of customers. Despite the decline in companies such as Waterford and also the decline in the Gigland crystal industry previously, what is evident now is that there is a moderate revival in the crystal industry. And this seems to focus around the fact that many of the key competitors in the industry have taken a more contemporary approach to the design and general trends within their products. Consumers may have lost interest in more traditional products, but there is a growing interest in more casual, youthful and individualistic products suiting modern trends in things like home improvements, for instance, and key competitors within the industry have responded. And one of the key ways which they have done that is through the use of colour and engraving in their products. We know that the chemical composition of crystal can make colouring problematic. However, there is a significant demand for coloured products, and this is evident from a number of the websites of companies such as Waterford and other big names in the industry. Waterford's Crystal's John Rocher range, for instance, features a number of significantly coloured products. Another significant trend is with regarding the design of crystalware is the use of engraving. So lead crystal is a softer product and therefore is more amenable to engraving. Not only can this add benefits in terms of the design and pattern of particular products, but it can also benefit in terms of the personalization and individuality of products, which, as I've just shown, is a trend, which are growing in popularity. From personalizing products with names for birthdays, for instance, to adding logos onto products for corporate events, there are a whole range of personalization options available in the online stores of many of the major manufacturers. And the prominence that these options are given shows their current popularity. We know from the Daily News that the trends we just talked about regarding the modern design and reinterpretation of crystalware are also prevalent in Gigland. We do learn, however, that there is only one of the four major producers, manufacturers of crystal which are using coloured glass. And this isn't mentioned to be King Crystal, so this is potentially an area they could look to incorporate to modernise their designs. Despite the fact that King Crystal's products are popular for gifts, for special occasions, that's stated in the Presene, we don't really see much information in terms of their options for personalisation or use of engraving in design. So this could be another potential area that King Crystal looks to exploit. And this is especially important given what we've just talked about with regards to the trends for modern design and for personalisation and for the individuality of products, which the use of colour and engraving, as we've just seen, can both provide. So this may be an area King Crystal looks to develop on. The next area that I want to talk to you about is the marketing and the branding of crystal products in general. So we know that the products within the industry are both high quality in nature and are not perishable. So this really means that products are not regularly purchased, and when they are purchased, you expect them to last for long periods of time. This high quality nature of the crystal products on sale is therefore replicated by the branding of companies, which in general is very sleek, very elegant, and aims to fit in with the sophisticated product that's being sold. In terms of reaching the market, it's clear that the advertisements of companies within the industry focus on the products themselves. This may sound like a bit of a straightforward statement. However, really the quality of the product speaks for themselves during the advertising. Avenues such as social media are utilised to varying degrees, as you would expect in the modern day marketplace. An interesting example is that of Waterford Crystal, whose Instagram pages have a range of photos which really are really nicely done and really highlight the artistry behind the products that they're advertising. Another approach is that of Dartington Crystal, whose YouTube channel educates watchers on the process behind the creation of the products, which, as we'll see later on, is a subject of growing interest at the time. A lot of these general industry trends are replicated by King Crystal. So the company's logo reflects both the simplicity and also the quality focus of its products in a similar way to other competitors within the industry. In terms of how King Crystal actually goes about advertising, there isn't much in the Presene. However, we do know that Sales and Marketing Director Tonya Shah favours a traditional approach to marketing, and that focuses on the fact that King Crystal's products sell themselves. Again, this is similar to rival companies such as Waterford. However, the problem here is that promotion of King Crystal's products is restricted to lifestyle magazines and the company's website. We don't really see much mention of the use of social media, which is slightly surprising given its prominence in modern day society, as this could have a really useful role in showcasing the company's products. And this may be linked into the fact that the company in general doesn't have much in terms of an IT infrastructure, which is something it could really do with developing. We know that King Crystal has a very traditional approach to the production of crystal, and so production is the next area that I would like to focus on. And so as you can see, the actual manufacturing process has changed very little in the course of a couple of thousand years in which glass has been produced. And the particular areas that I want to focus on here are the skill members and the level of staff participation that's needed to produce real high quality handcrafted materials. So as you can see at the moment, the actual glass blowing process itself really focuses on the physical strength, dexterity and breath control of the glass blowing team. And that's used to create crystal chambers of a certain thickness. As you can see from step 2, this process takes a team of 4 to 7 people who are required to create the crystal. And the level of skill that these processes require is once again highlighted by the fact that to become a master glassblower, up to 10 years training is needed to reach that particular level. We're going to look more about the importance of staff later on in the video, but I wanted to use this production section just to really highlight to you the major role that they and their skill sets play in creating products which their whole focus really is on their quality and the fact that they are handcrafted. Another key point I wanted to make with regards to the crystal production process is that of the environmental issues which surround it, and particularly surround the use of furnaces. So as you can see on the screen here, furnaces operate at temperatures of up to 1600 degrees Celsius. It goes without saying that running a furnace at this temperature requires huge amounts of energy, and this typically relates to around 70% of the total energy of a glass plant. Generally, furnaces will run on natural gas, and unfortunately this use of natural gas means that one of the major environmental issues surrounding glass production and crystal production is the production of emissions, particularly carbon dioxide emissions. And you can see from the screen here how a typical furnace will produce a quite staggering amount of carbon dioxide in a typical day's worth of production. And the environmental issues surrounding crystal production are ones which we will again come back to and interact with later on in the video. With regards to the Presene, perhaps the two key points which are relevant from the areas of technology and production in the glass industry is the environmental impacts. When applying these two particular areas to the Presene and to King Crystal, they don't lose their importance. We know from the daily news that the Gigland consumer is particularly environmentally aware. So although there's a great interest in artisan products, the company also needs to be aware of the fact that the consumer is particularly environmentally aware and environmentally sensitive. The importance of staff is also extremely evident in the Presene. We know that it took founder Joseph King 10 years to become a master glassblower. The industry experience of other key players within the company, such as Tobias Phipps and Don Omega, who work specifically in the production area, also shows the key nature and significance of skills. Given the handcrafted nature of King Crystal's products, it really highlights the importance of the staff and the skills they have. The next point I want to make in this section is with regards to key suppliers, and in particular to Supplier Power. So we know that crystal production requires three key elements, which are potash, silica sand and lead oxide. Fortunately for the crystal industry, all three of these elements are both naturally occurring and plentiful in supply. There are massive reserves of lead around the world, while silica sand composes of silicon and oxygen, which are two of the most abundant elements on planet Earth. While prices for potash have declined in the last few years, in part due to the fact that there is an oversupply of the material and a somewhat limited demand for the product. So obviously these conditions where supplies are plentiful in nature doesn't really create the conditions for significant supplier power. Essentially, for companies in the crystal industry, the abundance of these materials and the fact that they are naturally available means that there are plenty of alternatives available. So companies can switch suppliers if they need to, and supplier power generally is very low. So how does this impact King Crystal, and is this actually true for King Crystal? Well, let's just move on and have a look at the Presene. From the Presene, we know that King Crystal employs a single supplier strategy for each of its raw materials. Only the potash supplier is resident in Gigland. Generally speaking, we know that the abundance of these raw materials means that generally in the industry there is a limited amount of supplier power. King Crystal's strategy, however, does mean that it faces a bit more of a threat in this area, as it's very reliant on single suppliers, two of which are located overseas. The main issue here, of course, is that there may be a significant lead time for products from these suppliers to reach the company. The impact of supplier power overall, you would say for King Crystal, however, is offset slightly not only by the abundance of materials we've already talked about, but by the fact that the company does keep high levels of raw material. In general, therefore, although the company's supplier strategy maybe increases supplier power somewhat, generally for the industry, supplier power is very low, and this does apply to King Crystal as well. While I have your attention in this video, I'd just like to highlight to you to showcase some of the other products that Astranti offer for students. The first of these is the core product that the company offers, and these are our study texts. So study texts are available for every single module of every level of the CIMA qualification. So if you're looking to sit your objective test, for instance, they're a really interesting, really accessible resource that should help you pass those exams. These study texts are complemented by course videos, which are ideal for those of you who are more visual learners, for instance. Each of the videos is based around a presentation on each chapter of our study text, and one of our experts in the office, the expert on that particular chapter of the study text, talks through all the key points and relevant issues of that particular chapter. The next two products on the list complement each other really nicely and are ideal for those of you who are currently looking to sit your case study exams. The first of these is, of course, the Presene analysis, where one of our experts in the office will pick apart all the key details from the Presene document and highlight some of the key parts of the document which will be really useful for you going forward into your exam. Our industry analysis, as I'm sure you'll be aware from watching this video, is a more contextual look at the wider industry surrounding the Presene and the Presene company. Following on from these products, we then also provide mock exams, which are an ideal way for those of you who like to put yourself under exam pressure, for instance, in the lead up to the exam, to have a go at some really exam standard questions and test yourself out that way. If you want to take the mock exams a little bit further, we do also offer a marking and feedback service, which is provided by qualified accountants who are actually CIMA qualified themselves. The final product you can see on the list are our masterclasses, and these are for those of you who have maybe decided to sit the exam a little bit late and need to catch up, or for those of you who want an in-depth look at the entire topic. And essentially, these are an in-depth look at everything which might come up for the particular course. These are both available live, but also available as recorded videos after the event. And finally, such is the confidence that we have in our materials, that we offer a pass guarantee scheme, which essentially means that if you take our full course and unfortunately you fail to pass your exam, we will for free help you out with course materials for the following sitting. So once again, thank you very much for listening to this video. We hope that you choose Astranti for your course provider in the future and wish you the best of luck for any exams you have coming up in the near future. Thank you.